early retirement is not about winning the lottery. It is not about going to Vegas and making the big score. It is about retiring from the ideas that no longer suit you, that no longer serve a purpose. In the next segment of our early retirement toolbox, we'll be talking about establishing different values and priorities in life. Bill, this one confuses everybody because we're all raised to believe in whatever country, whatever culture, that this is how we should do things. We watch what our parents do, we watch what our relatives do, and we see the kind of home that we grow up in, we see the kind of work that the older people around us do, and we're taught to aspire to a similar, if not a higher standard of living, a more complicated standard of living. And by doing that, we also lock ourselves into the same kind of work situation that our fathers and our other relatives have experienced. In other words, you must work really, really hard until you're 65 at least. You must get into tremendous debt and always be struggling and working to pay that off.
Well, I think you're right to some extent, in as much as you, when you're younger and, as you're growing up, then obviously you're influenced by parents and friends and just general people in the community, people in the village, so to speak. I think that's fine. And then, of course, if you move away, particularly if you go overseas, if you become international, then you're picking up the thoughts and ideas, etc., from another village. And that village, the second village, sometimes has more of an impact on you than your primary, village, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And then, of course, the more times you move and the more villages that you see or live in, the more things change. But certainly, as you get older, your ideas change. Correctly so. I don't think you necessarily have to stick to the old-fashioned ideas. Well, this is what happened when I was growing up. I mean, that's why it's called change. That's why it's called lifestyle change, because you can benefit from the changes in in your lifestyle.
Yeah, I think that's entirely true. And the bigger point here is when we're talking about early retirement, we're talking about the early retirement from life as you have experienced it up to now, and doing away with the notion that there is no other way to live, that there is no other way to be. And it's really important to grab hold of the idea that early retirement is not about winning the lottery. It is not about going to Vegas and making the big score. It is about retiring from the ideas that no longer suit you, that no longer serve a purpose, and thinking very carefully and planning very carefully about how am I going to replace these old ideas that no longer suit me, that no longer serve a purpose for me, with a better plan, and then how will I enact that plan?
Well, I suppose it would be remiss of me to not discuss or at least mention financial issues. That, taking early retirement is fine. I mean, I did it. But, I think you obviously have to be, financially capable of living for the rest of your life. But leaving that aside, you're right, because what you're saying then is that, heretofore, the things that you've been doing in your career and obviously commuting and, family life or whatever it may be, you want to have a change. You want to have a lifestyle change. That's fine. If that means that you have to leave your day job, if you wish, okay, that's fine. But you must have a plan, because, taking early retirement at age 25 is probably a little bit in the early side. Maybe 35 is a little bit in the early side. I don't know what the age time or limit is.
No, I'm going to push back on that. I don't necessarily agree with Bill, because if you're 25 or 35 and you're watching this video, by no means are we saying that this video isn't right for you. If you are ready to retire from the traditional notions of work and debt and employment and have a new, better situation for yourself. But what we are saying is financially, your new life is going to have to be paid for. And that's probably going to involve work. But absolutely, there's nothing wrong with working. We believe in working, but working for a job that is much more satisfying to you and allows you more freedom to live a life that is more authentic for you.
Well, I mean, maybe the problem is, don't use the word retire. It's just a career change. It's just a change of job. You've decided to finish with this career and do something else, or you finish with this company and go to a different company. I think the problem is the word retire, because I think that's what turns a lot of people off.
Well, I agree with the idea that the word retirement is a terrible word because it implies a whole bunch of negative situations, and it implies that you can only even make that change way, way, way into the future when you're at least 65 years old. But it also isn't necessarily accurate just to talk about this as being a change of employment, because the change of employment is only one piece of what we are talking about. We're actually talking about changing how you think about everything in your life and how you compose your life. So you're sitting there going, gee, that's great, Robin. Where do you start? Well, you have to start by getting to know yourself. You have to really sit quietly and ask yourself, what is it that I really love to do? What never feels like work? What kinds of things am I really good at? And what sort of life do I want for myself and my family if I have one? How am I going to take the answers to all those questions when you have got the raw data out of yourself, if you will, and start to build a plan around that, writing all those the answers to all those questions on a piece of paper and literally saying, okay, well, forgetting about what's possible, what's not possible, because anything is really possible if you put your mind to it. How would I begin to build a life around the answers to these questions? What would have to happen? Would I have to do a little retraining? Would I need to move house? Would I need to move to a different city? I have no idea what the answers are, but you have to start asking yourself the questions, and in time, you absolutely can figure it out.
I suppose the takeaway on this then is to not to use the word retire, but to use the word rethink. And I think that's really what we're talking about, is that you want to rethink your lifestyle. You want to rethink, where you live, what you do. You want to rethink which village you want to live in, or which village you would love to go to, or at least visit, or something like that. So I think it's a rethinking exercise more than anything else, and we're big supporters of that. We love the idea of rethinking, and whether you go into videos or stuff like that to as part of your rethinking, yeah, who knows? Could be.
Well, if we've got you doing any rethinking, please subscribe to our channel, and we'll chat with you again soon.